Okay, let's get started with our review. The material that I'm going to be giving you comes from the Glencoe Algebra I textbook. I know, being summertime right now, I know most of you won't have your textbook, so I'm going to give you some definitions and go over a few examples. Hopefully you'll jot these down in your notebook, and if you have questions, be sure that you get those to me so I can help you out. First off, let's talk about the definition of an algebraic expression. An algebraic expression consists of sums and or products of numbers and variables. A variable, of course you should remember this, is symbols used to represent unspecified numbers or values. For example, 0.10d, that's an example of an algebraic expression. This represents multiplication. You have 1 or 10 hundredths or 1/10 times d. And that represents an algebraic expression. Okay? Coming over to the next example, 2x plus 4. Now look back at our example. Consists of sums and or products of numbers and variables. Here we have the product 2 times x plus 4. That is another algebraic expression. Okay, here another example. We have 3 plus z divided by 6. Okay, now this z here, I want you to notice how I make a mark through the z. That's because by the end of the day, if we make a whole lot of z's in algebra or in math, at least mine starts looking like a 2. So I make a z with a line through it. So anytime you see that z, it's going to have a line through it so that you will know it's a z. And finally, we have p times q. That is another algebraic expression. Algebraic expressions, of course the variables are the letters represented in each of these expressions. A term may be a number, a variable, or a product or quotient of numbers and variables. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about terms. Let's go back to this first example right here. That is a term all by itself, 0.10d, that is one term. Okay, looking at this expression, we have 2x plus 4. Each member that's separated by that plus sign is called a term. The 2x is a term, and the 4, just a number by itself, is a term. Okay, same thing here. In this expression that I just pointed to, the 3 is a term, and the z divided by x is a term. So both of these, this expression and this expression, each have 2 terms. Now think about this one for just a minute. We have multiplication represented here. Did we have multiplication represented here? Yes, we did. And we said that this is one term. Well, guess what? So is this one. P times Q also represents one term. Again, a term may be a number, a variable, or a product, or a quotient of numbers and variables. Now, we haven't seen quotient except for right here. Do you remember what quotient is? Quotient is the result when you divide. Okay, let's look at a couple more definitions and then some examples. First off, we have factors. Factors are quantities being multiplied in a multiplication expression, and the product is the result that you get when you multiply. Now, I have 5 terms here, or actually 5 problems here, that they each look a little different, but they all mean the same thing. Okay, take a look here at this first problem. We've got xy. That means x times y. Well, guess what? So does this. This also means x times y. That dot right here is now used for multiplication. Our good old trusty friend x that you're all so familiar with in using to show multiplication, we're going to have to do away with, because we have the variable x in algebra, and we don't want to get that variable x mixed up with a multiplication symbol. So now we have some other things that mean multiply. Here, x smushed together with a y in parentheses, that also means multiplication. Same thing right here for the x in parentheses and the y. And you can also have the x and the y both separated by parentheses. So each of these 5 examples here represent the same thing. If we knew a value for x or we knew a value for y, you would get the same product for each of these. Okay, now let's review a little bit about exponent or exponential terms. The power refers to the exponent in an exponential term expression. Excuse me, my tongue's tied. The exponent tells us how many times to multiply the base, and the base is what gets multiplied according to what the exponent tells us to do. Okay, let's look here at a couple of examples, because one of them we got numbers and one of them we've got a variable. This particular problem right here is a numeric exponential expression. We've got all numbers in it. So that 3 is called the base, and the 5 is the exponent. And that 5 tells us that we're going to multiply that 3 times itself 5 times. So 3 to the 5th power means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay? Same thing when you have something with a variable in it. For instance, if I had x raised to the 3rd power, in this particular problem, the x is the base. And the 3 is the exponent. Okay, and that exponent tells us if we knew a value for x, that we would multiply that value by itself 3 times. Otherwise, that means x times x times x. Now let's look at something else. Let's talk about verbal and what the word verbal means. When I say the word verbal, I'm talking about words. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take some algebraic expressions and change them to words. So pause the video for just a minute, look at these 2 expressions, and see if you can come up with words. Now I want you to think, what if Miss Crumpton was at the board and she asked me to call this problem out to her? How would I read it in a way that she can understand what I mean? Okay, pause the video, see what you can come up with. Okay, now there are several possible answers, believe it or not, for each of these. So just because I write the answer one way and you have something different, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong and I'm right. We could both be right. For instance, I could say this first problem 3 times x to the 4th power. Okay, that's one possible answer. Another possible answer could be the product of 3 and x to the 4th power. Okay, let me write that one down for you too. The product of 3 and x to the 4th power. Okay, do you have one of those answers, or did you have something different? If you're not sure, be sure you send me a private message or a public post on our Facebook homework page, and I'll see if I can help you and make sure that you understand. Okay, look at that second problem. We've got 5z to the 2nd power plus 16. Hey, I just gave you the words for that. Except you need to say 5 times. 5 times when you're writing it out. Z to the 2nd power Did anybody say 5 times z squared? If you said 5 times z squared, that is absolutely correct also. Let's not forget plus 16. Now there's some different answers for that too. You could have said the sum of 5 times z to the 2nd power and 16. What else? Anything else that you wrote down? Again, if you've got a question, be sure you private message me or public post on our Facebook homework page. Okay, now we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to take words, verbal expressions, and we're going to rewrite these as algebraic expressions. So what I'd like for you to do, again, is pause the video, give these problems a try, and then restart so that we can check and see how well you did on it. Okay, the product of p and 6. Normally, when I have something like this, I would write that 6 times p. Now remember, just a few minutes ago, we looked at some examples of ways to write multiplication. Make sure you didn't use an x here. You also could have said that p times 6. You could have said it p with the 6 in parentheses next to it. You could have said p. Excuse me, I'm doing the same thing again. Oop, I can't get it erased. It's been a while since I've used this. You could have also said the p in parentheses with the 6, or you could have put both numbers, the p and the 6 in parentheses. Which one is right? They all are. Algebraically, this one, 6p, is a little bit more acceptable. I would not have counted any of these answers incorrect. Okay, let's take a look at the last one. 1/3 of the area A. Now they tell you here let the variable be A, and you're finding 1/3 of A. Right, 1/3 is a fraction, one third, and then A next to it. Again, you could have done it like any of these right here. Wouldn't necessarily have been wrong. Alright right, kids, here's what I would like for you to do. I've done some examples for you, hopefully as a review. Now, I'm not going to assign all 25 or 24 problems that you can see. Here's what I would like for you to do. I would like for you to look at all 24 of the problems that you can see here. However, only try a few of these, enough to where you know for sure that you've had a good review. And I'm going to post the answers after this slide. Be honest with yourself. I'm not right there with you. I'm not hovering over you. You're 8th grade in Pre-AP Algebra I. So take a look at these. If you have questions about one, be sure you message me on our homework page. Thanks so much, and be looking for the answer slide for these problems after this one. Here are your answers to the problems that I previously gave you. I hope that you were honest with yourselves most of all. I'm not going to be there. Like I said, I'm not going to know whether you honestly tried these problems or not. But I'll be able to tell when I get you in class here in just a few months, or actually about 2 months or so. All right, thanks so much.